Lauren, did you receive confirmations from Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Murillo?
Councilmember Marcano has just joined. I made him a panelist. I haven't heard anything from Councilmember Murillo after the initial acceptance of time and date, but I haven't heard a decline or anything either.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
It looks like we have everything, Councilmember.
All right, go ahead and start. If Councilmember Murillo gets in, we'll kind of move forward. But I'd like to stay on track with time. I appreciate everybody's time frame. So I'll call the meeting to order. And we need to go at look at approval of minutes. Any questions, Councilmember Marcano? There she is. Councilmember Murillo, any questions on the minutes, approval of minutes?
No questions. I wasn't on the committee, so I tend to abstain from that, but if it's necessary to move it forward,
Yes.
support the approval.
Councilmember Marcano, you're all good?
I also was not on the committee, and I apologize. I was having some audio issues a second ago. So I
Okay.
will abstain.
All right. Well, I was absent at that meeting as well. So it makes us a quandary now. So I'm not sure on process on that since none of us were there.
Why don't I'll tell you what, let me ask questions of the city clerk's office, and maybe what we'll do is send them out to the two council members that were there.
Sounds
and
good.
see if they'll approve them, and we'll go from there.
All right.
So let me do some follow-up. I didn't recognize that, so thank you very much for pointing that out.
Yep. Just want to make sure process. So then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is any announcements. Seeing none. Hello, somebody speak. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the number 4A, the 2022 PFQL agenda item recap.
Thank you very much. I'm Brooke Bell, for the record, and I will quickly review what was worked on and presented at last year's Parks Foundation Quality of Life Policy Committee. Councilmember Medina, you saw this in December, but we'll go through it again quickly now. So in January, we did the recap and we did a pros department overview. And then in February, we went over our process for prioritizing capital budgets and the framework we use, and also reviewed the status of dog parks in the city. And then in March, we had a progress report on the Southeast Recreation Center. We also had a report on the PROS master plan. We were getting ready to kick that off at the time. And then our seasonal wage overview for the year. And in April, we had a report out from Osner, Open Space and Natural Resources, and where they talked about the Generation Wild program, which is extraordinarily popular. And we had a youth programming update from Joe Sack in Recreation. In May, we also talked about a recreation program that we attempted to set up over the summer. Unfortunately, with that program, we were unable to staff it, but that was the Aurora Youth Connection and having free access to the centers over the summer break. And due to staffing, we were unable to set that program up at the time. And then in June of 2022, we had an update on the PROS master plan, and we had an update on our security, park safety and security work that we were doing, and also an overview from our marketing special events group. Freedom Memorial Visitor Center concept followed in July. And then in August, there was an overview from golf. And then periodically, we do updates for the Colorado Freedom Memorial Visitor Center project. And you'll see that throughout here. And then September, we had no meeting. October, we were proposing new recreation hours for 2023. There was a naming, not a renaming, a naming of a new park in Green Valley Ranch. And also we brought the 2022 median projects to the group for their approval prior to going to council. And then no meeting in November. And then in December, we had report outs from most of our advisory boards and went over this report. Any questions?
Any questions from committee members?
None from, well, I guess I do have maybe more of a comment.
Right.
Did the agendas just get light in September and November, and is that typical?
You know, it's a good question. It's a great question. There are times where we don't have items to bring, and we usually start here before we go to council, but we as a department we don't have a lot of IGAs or other work that actually requires council approval. And so we just were light in those months. And you'll see that happen in other months. What you'll see most of our work, and you've experienced this before, we provide a lot of updates on how we do things. And so that's what you see here.
All right, thank you.
And I will say, I will make a comment, because all of you have been on this committee before and you know our processes, we're going to have to work harder to bring new material to the group and refresh that material. And so certainly that will be a challenge for the department, but we're up to it. And if there are things that you would like us to look at or bring to your, to study, certainly that would be helpful as well.
Councilmember Murillo?
Yeah. I had a couple of comments. No questions. Thank you for the overview. I was hoping that you could, staff could share any, like a similar tracking for years prior.
So are you asking how this compares to years prior? Is that? I think we may have lost.
Hello.
Oh, Councilmember Maria.
Oh.
Hello. My laptop froze. I apologize. So I'm on my phone, but I guess what I was saying is I was just hoping that y'all could send the content for years prior, couple years, just to get a sense of the other topics that we've talked about. That would be helpful for my processing purposes. And then in terms of future items, was hoping to get an update on the dog park conversation. I had dug up the meeting notes from when I was on the committee. I think it was also Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Phillips, where we had unanimously supported a dog park master planning process. So I was happy to see that there was at least an initial presentation, and from that presentation, it sounds like there's still yeah, I was hoping to get a recent update and kind of just make sure to bring that conversation back up. That was the only thing that stuck out to me in terms of from my past time on this committee.
Councilman Murillo, we can get you those past tracking sheets, and we'll get those sent out to you. And with regard to the dog park, when I believe in March, we plan to bring back a discussion and update around the pros system master plan, and we are doing a dog park study as part of that master plan. So the dog park study was incorporated into the pros master plan as a subset of that work.
Gotcha. Do we know like a timeline on that?
As I said, we can bring an update in March, and our goal is to have the pros master plan completed by the end of the second quarter. And that
Okay.
dog park study would be included in that.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks, Brooke.
You're welcome.
Any other further questions? All right. If not, we'll go ahead and move on. So we'll go on to 4B, Pros 2023 Department Initiatives.
Lauren, and this is me again. And Lauren, could you put that in a presentation format for me, please?
Sorry, give me 1 second. There it is.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. And if you could go to the second page, please. So these are our department initiatives, also our department goals. There are many other tasks and work efforts going on in the department all the time. Special requests from citizens, requests from council, but these are our overarching goals to complete this year. And so what you see is the pros, get on the right page. We have the pros safety and security plan that is ongoing. There's still work that we're doing there, and we'll provide updates on that. But this is where we stood up nighttime, overnight private security in the parks last year. We also have 5 new positions with the 2023 budget for rangers, and so we'll have increased ranger patrols, and there's a number of other things that we're doing. So we'll bring an update on that in February, but that's an ongoing effort for the department. And then the pros master plan, which I just spoke to, was kicked off last year, early in the year, and our intent, these dates or these quarters that you see following the item, that's our intent to have them completed by. So this would be completed during that time. The pros master plan would be completed at the end of Q2 is what we're pushing for. And then there's the pros department organizational assessment. We had hired a consultant to look at our department, how we're organized, staffing wise, and also leadership wise. We'll be finalizing that work at the end of this quarter and rolling that out in the second quarter. It does have a recommendation to add a deputy director within the department, and that would happen in the first half of this year. We also have employee engagement and cultural survey. The city did that survey for all of our employees. I believe it was about a little less than a year ago, back in March of 2022, I believe. And now we're working on responding to what those survey outcomes showed for each department. And that is an ongoing effort. I will tell you that I have met with the entire department. We had meetings in January, early January, with the leadership team, then with all of our supervisors and superintendents. There's about 80 of those. And then we had an all department meeting of nearly 300 full-time employees to share what the cultural survey, to share the results of the cultural survey, and to also understand what are their top 3 priorities that we can work on through the year. And so we have that information, and we're now developing a plan on how to continue to engage with them quarterly, how to improve our communication and do the other things that they've asked us to do. And that'll be ongoing, and we can provide updates on that as well. The needs assessment for older adults. You may remember that the council voted to close Morningstar about a year ago. And what came out of that is a promise to do a needs assessment for older adults. We have been working with the commission for older adults, and they have developed a scope of work. And so we'll be coming out with a RFP to do the needs assessment and get that completed by the end of this year, early next year.
Great. Councilor Medina and Brooke, can I jump in for just a quick sec?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So while we're doing the needs assessment for older adults, which I completely support, one of the a growing issue that we're having in the city is childcare as well. So care for, our youngest residents. And I know that we've talked about this a little bit in the past, Brooke, but I've actually reached out to Arapahoe County and some of the commissioners there, and the Aurora Chamber. And this is a high priority for both of those groups as well. And where we're at is we're trying to find, really pinpoint where our childcare deserts are in the city. And I think that would go in to any kind of needs assessment for older adults and see where our elder care, deserts might be in the city as well. And by deserts, I don't just mean a complete lack of presence for that service. I also mean a lack of affordability.
Okay.
So I know that was why the Morningstar program was very beloved, and folks are advocating strongly to keep that going because it was actually, a reasonable cost. And we're running into a similar issue with childcare. So as you can imagine, that's impacting our local economy. It's impacting people's ability to provide for their families or even start a family. So if we can find a way to comfortably work that into that assessment, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, let's have some more conversation around that, and see how we can address both. I'm not sure they would be in the needs assessment for older adults because that's very unique to them.
Yeah.
But let's see how we can work that in, and I'll do some checking with you and we'll follow up, Councilwoman.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
I understand. Okay, and then asset inventory and condition assessment. We have a very large asset, and you all are aware of that, and we want to go out there and make sure we understand the age of all of that and do a great inventory of everything we have, understand the age and condition, and that will become the foundation of future work for the department and focus and understanding the cost of maintaining that and what is the timing for capital, what's the appropriate timing for capital improvements on those facilities as well. So there's a lot to do there. It's important work, and it will start to guide. Again, I think it will go hand in hand with the PROS master plan and guide the work that we do in the future. Next slide. You've all heard when we came to council and talked about water conservation. We have turf conversion projects ongoing. If there is a drought declared, we'll have drought management work ongoing, and so that's one of our initiatives. Financial sustainability and fee study for that'll happen prior to the April budget kickoff. This is for primarily recreation, special events, and communication is part of recreation, and then also open space and natural resources. So the groups where we have lots of fee-based programs and looking at what we provide and the cost of those programs, and this will guide some of our decision making going into the budget process for 2024. It was also a request of of Councilmember Jorinsky during the August budget workshop. Restructuring, another priority for us, and it goes back to the financial sustainability and fee study, is how we restructure recreation fund. Again, having recommendations for that prior to 2024 budget development. We know since COVID, the fund, there is a strong fund balance, but we know with the recreation centers that have come on over the last 4 years, the long-term outlook for the fund is challenged, and we want to make sure we right-size recreation and get it where we need to, so it'll be sustainable in the coming years. And then the recreation division, there is some work to do around training policies and procedures. That's where we get the most feedback from the public. That creates a lot of time for staff, and we just need to put some stronger policies in place and procedures. They're old and they need to be updated, and some we just need more procedures and policies. So that is the plan for the year. Any questions?
Any questions, committee members?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Marcano.
So as part of the training policies and procedures, are we going to also discuss wages for pros employees, staffing, retention levels, and all that?
Yes, and that actually is going on right now, Councilmember Marcano. And that came out in the all department meeting where we asked staff, what are your top 3 items you want us to work on? Communication was the big one. We call them the 3 C's. Communication, being involved in knowing more about what we're doing as a department. There was compensation, and then career development, having a path forward to develop their careers, and that goes to staff retention as well. And so what's going on right now is that the HR, Human Resources Department, is working with all the departments on compensation right now. We have several meetings going on for the citywide compensation reviews.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions, Councilmember Murillo?
No questions. I'm excited to see some of this come to fruition, and excited to see kind of the strategy behind how y'all want to continue to address work in the department moving forward. So that's all I'd like to say.
All right, nothing from me, so we'll move on to the next agenda item. We've got reports. Let's see. Oh, miscellaneous matters for consideration. Oh, yeah. Number 5, miscellaneous matters for consideration. Anybody? See.
I guess Councilmember Medina, if I can just jump in.
Sure.
Brooke, I know you already said we were going to follow up on it, but I just do want to state that I would like us to have a full conversation around childcare and elder care, independent of the analysis, just to kind of, I think, frame what I'm hoping we can do as a city for our residents on those 2 things, if that's amenable to my colleagues. And I'd like to meet with you, beforehand, Brooke, so that I can kind of lay out what the area that I want to talk about.
We can make that happen.
All right, great.
Great. Yes, Ms. Brooke, I would like to look at the possibility of what it would take to do a specific teen center, specific to teens. So I'd like to have that conversation with you too. I've been meeting with a variety of different groups in community and seeing if we can create some partnership, because one of the things I know is the financing, right? So I've been talking to some people that have opportunities to put some money towards a structure, actually building the structure, which I know is one of the biggest costs. So I want to look at, what is the possibility and locations, and see what we can present, because I mean, I would certainly like pros to be a part of that, and utilize resources that are outside that can certainly help us.
We can arrange a meeting to talk about your vision for that.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, Councilmember Murillo? Any
No, I love that idea as well. And support the request from Councilmember Marcano as well. Nothing else for me.
All right. Next is topics for next month's meeting.
We will provide an update on, say, the security program that we set up and what progress we've made and where we're still working on some items. And I don't have any other items at this time, but we'll give it some more thought. And if you have some things, something you want us to bring up next month, if you could let us know early, and we can address that as well.
Councilmember Murillo? You have anything?
No, my item I think is going to come in March. And yeah, when I get a chance to look at the past topics, I might inspire some thoughts on my end. But right now, I don't have anything pressing for next month.
Councilmember Marcano?
Nothing pressing either.
Okay. Brooke, can we look at, I would just like statistics if you have them. You know, what's the name of the park was like a 3-hole golf there off of Center Park over there by Raytheon?
The Center Hills, it used to be the
Yeah.
Center Hills Golf Course.
Yeah, so I'd just like to know like usage and what you guys think of that space, just because I have a tendency to think that it's not very well utilized, but I could be wrong. Because I know we have a frisbee, we transitioned that to a frisbee golf, and I know we have a huge one over at Expo, and I was just curious to see if that drew any more or less, or kind of what is happening with that specific park, and is there an opportunity to look at something else there?
So what I could do is pull the old master plans and the community engagement. It might be a little dated, but we could pull that and take a look at that.
Okay.
And that'll tell us what was planned after that golf course happened, because I understood there was some significant community engagement and a updated master plan after the golf course left. The frisbee golf, anecdotally, these are anecdotal, so please bear with me, because I wasn't here when this happened. Anecdotally, what I heard is that there were challenges with budget, and so the frisbee golf was an easy solution, a relatively easy solution, because it was mentioned. I understand it was mentioned, and it doesn't require, it didn't have all the grass. It doesn't require all the. If you've been out there, the terrain is like a golf course, right? It's not flat. It would require a lot of dirt work to flatten it out or do other things. But let me pull that one, and we might want to consider engaging the community on the matter as well, and what the timing of that would look like as well. And because when you look at that terrain, and again, I'm just presupposing ideas, because we've talked about it internally. When you look at that terrain, for instance, Manager Wesolowski had mentioned to me not long ago, well, you could possibly put in, and I'm not using the right words, he would be better with this, but along the edges, maybe a bicycle track that would draw in families and kids. And I'm sorry, I don't have the right name for that, but anyway, it's a track around the bicycle. Are there areas where you could maybe put a pump track in as well? And so again, we'd have to look at, what the public would want, what would be the cost, and the timing and how that fits in with all the other work. But we can pull some information, and I think we could bring that back to you in February, as far as what do we know about the history and what were the community engagements that were done at the time. And
Okay.
that might be helpful.
All right. That'd be great. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions, concerns, issues?
Sorry, Medina.
Go ahead, Councilmember Marcano.
All right, thank you. And sorry, this is probably better for miscellaneous matters for a future meeting. So that conversation actually got me wondering, with the issues we've had with water use around golf courses and things like that. Have we ever considered a mini golf course?
Let's see, I just
We,
don't know.
we used to
I
have
just
one.
don't know, not in my history, but I don't know.
We- Yeah, we used to have one over at
Oh, that's right, yeah.
over. Why am I over off the Sable? Is it not Sable?
Bicentennial Park.
Yeah, Bicentennial.
Okay.
There you go.
And what happened? Was it just not popular enough to stay in operation?
John, do you remember the history of the Bicentennial golf? The park?
I believe so. I believe it was that there was it wasn't enough to stay in to keep going. There also was another one if longtime Aurorans, the one on the way to the sports park. There was a private entity that was there, and then that one also closed and it has been since demolished.
Oh, okay. Well, darn. That's sad to hear.
Councilmember Marcano, I think this is an example of why I really like this committee. I just feel like it opens the door for the creative like questions like that. I think when we were on this last together, I had brought up aqua golf, because they have like a driving range and like a little putt kind of thing. But yeah, I wonder if that's contemplated in like the master plan or I mean it's like a balance of like what's going to be utilized, and then like I know we want people to recreate here as well, right, more than in other cities, to kind of keep those tax revenues here, right? So yeah, I don't know where those conversations of like, hey, are we going to explore that? I mean, aside from like bringing him up kind of ad hoc, live, but I would I just wanted to like make that comment. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of bring those up, like, hey, why can't we have this here, kind of thing. But yeah, I would support. I would go if if they had something like that here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love mini golf, but I think the closest one to us is over in Kennedy Ridge Memory Serve, which is in Denver. I think it's a publicly owned facility. So I guess if I can refine this into a proper ask, like, have we ever done like a feasibility study to see if that's something that would have enough demand to maybe be able to, stay afloat as a, part of our enterprise, and be able to support itself, or not? So yeah, I just think that kind of an amenity, and others, maybe I'm weird and there's not that many mini golf enjoyers anymore, but that kind of an amenity is definitely missing in our city, I feel. So
I will add it to our list, and we'll talk about when we might be able to incorporate it into our work.
all right, thanks.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions, issues, concerns? Committee members, anything? All right. Well, if not, we'll adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks all.
As well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.